Well, hello everyone. It is good to be here with you, to have a chance to talk to you, reach out to you a little bit about music and about whatever you'd like to talk about. We have a few questions that people would like to ask me, and I will certainly get to those questions. I guess I just want to start by welcoming everyone and kind of fill people in on what this is about and what my life is about. So this is, of course, I'm representing here the New Haven Symphony Orchestra. And I've been with the New Haven Symphony Orchestra. This is my 6th season. It has been an absolute blast working with the orchestra and getting to know the community. Before I was with the New Haven Symphony, I spent several years with the Symphony of Southeast Texas here in Beaumont, Texas. And so that's where I live. I live outside of Houston, and I've been here with the symphony for about 11 years. This is my 11th season with the orchestra. So up here, or down here in Texas, I mainly do classical music, and we do have a pop series, we have classical concerts and education concerts. And then I come up to New Haven about 4 times a year to work with the New Haven Symphony on their Pops series. And usually it's October, December, February/March, and then we end things at the end of May, beginning of June typically. And I hope that I get to come back down for June, but we will see with all this virus stuff that's going on right now, how it's really turned the arts world upside down. So that's kind of my life. I go between these two cultures, these two weather patterns. It's very warm and tropical down here, humid. And then I get a chance to spend a little time up in Connecticut, which I love working up in Connecticut. And it's been a great 6 seasons with you all. So we have a great season ahead for next year. I got a quick note from Tiffany, who says hello, and Tiffany's going to be one of our soloists for our concerts, our opening concert next season, a concert of divas. So she's going to be doing music of Bessie Smith, Mahalia Jackson, Whitney Houston with the orchestra. We'll have our holiday concert in December, our holiday extravaganza. We'll have the music of John Williams, the music director of the New Haven Symphony, Alistair Neal, will be conducting that concert. And then we'll finish up the season next year with the music of Rodgers and Hammerstein. So we've got some great things on the horizon. And I think with that, I will move to some questions that we have here. So Carol and Marvin Warshaw, I work with, they're in the viola section. Marvin is the principal violist of the New Haven Symphony, and he also is the librarian. So we do quite a bit of talking together throughout the course of the season. He asked me, how do you prepare for the ad-lib portions of your concerts? So, you know, the thing about a Pops concert, the thing I love about a Pops concert is you have that immediate connection with the audience because there's a lot of talking. The pieces are shorter. You're trying to engage the audience. You're trying to actually bring the audience on stage so that they feel a part of the evening or the afternoon in the case in New Haven. We do all of our Pops concerts in the afternoon. They're all matinee programs. But you try to engage the audience, and then every once in a while, someone might say something from the audience, and if you can twist it and turn it and use it during the course of the concert, it's always fun. One time we had a young man who dressed up as a wizard. We were doing a Harry Potter concert. We were doing music of Harry Potter. And I just had him to come up spontaneously. And I used his wand, and he stood there next to me, and it's just a really fabulous moment. And you never know when you have moments like that where people come up on stage, people have a chance to have a special moment like that, how that might impact that young man's life. So I try to, it is structured. I do come out with a plan, but the plan is always a little fluid for things that might pop out and come up throughout the course of the concert. I love Pop's concerts. And my love of Pop's concerts came from John Williams. Back in, there was Jaws. I'm a child of the, grew up in the 70s primarily. And I was a high school junior house in the 70s. And John Williams with the Jaws, but when he came up with Star Wars, oh my gosh, Star Wars. I wore that record out, both sides. I would listen to it every single night. I went to see the movie at least 10 times at the theater. And then John Williams became the music director, Pop's conductor of the Boston Pops. And so I'd see him on television. And that is really where my love of the Pops genre began. Now, when you're in school and when you get your first job, you don't realize that you're going to be, especially when you get your first job, you're going to be conducting all genres and all styles of music. But I do have a certain affinity for the Pops world. And I love music education, talking to kids, talking to young people. All right, another question from Carol and Marvin, happy couple. Where do you get, oh gosh, where do you get your jokes from? That's a tough one. Usually the jokes come from, I hear people share jokes with me. Sometimes I try to create jokes, and especially for the holiday concerts, I have a collection of jokes that kind of work with certain pieces that I might pull out. Now, the tricky thing about jokes is you don't want to repeat them. You don't want to say a joke the next year in a row, especially in New Haven, because I conduct there every year as opposed to guest conducting, where I might be there once every 3 or 4 years or so. But jokes are tricky. And I love when during the holiday season, I usually do about 8 or 9 holiday concerts with different orchestras. And so, usually the first one is here in Beaumont, Texas, where I live, at the Symphony of Southeast Texas. Go 409, woo! And let me just tell you, not having an audience, not being able to see you all is a really interesting experience. It's very different. But anyway, so the first 2 concerts, is where I'm kind of trying out the material, trying out the timing of things. And you do get a sense of what audiences like and what they respond to, and how you present it in a way with the right timing, with the right inflection. And you can think about it, you can practice it in your room over and over. And when you get in front of an audience, though, it can either be really successful or it can really flop, or you could think, this is maybe not such a great joke, and it turns out to be really well received. The humor thing is a tricky thing. And let's face it, the people are there to hear the music. So it's not the Chelsea Tipton show, it's the New Haven Symphony Orchestra show, or the Symphony of Southeast Texas show. We are, as a conductor, we are there, and my colleague, Alistair Neal, the music director of the New Haven Symphony Orchestra, we're there to serve the music and serve the community. So you're trying to find that balance of not too much talking and just the right amount of music balanced with the right amount of talking. It's a very interesting life. Okay, let's see here. And then Carol and Marvin also, they play viola, and there's a lot of viola jokes. All right, let me go to a different person here. This is from Ellen Alston, who is a pastor in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Lake Charles, we're in Southeast Texas, so we're about 50 miles from the Louisiana border. Lake Charles is about 60 miles from Beaumont. She asks kind of, I'll just read the question here in the statement. We are all experiencing trauma, grief, and the loss of being able to physically connect with others. It seems like there is a welling up of deep hunger for music and other arts to minister to our troubled spirits, to bring comfort, hope, and unity. Do you see this as a time that may lead to a rebirth of music and arts as a center of our lives and communities in even greater or different ways than we have known recently? That's a very good question. Look at what I'm doing right now. This broadcast. If we were in normal mode, I'd be preparing now for our education concerts down here. I'd be preparing for my next set of concerts in New Haven in a month and a half, the beginning of June. The fact that we're having this conversation on YouTube in this fashion is the direct result of what's going on now. And it's a change, it's an evolution. And when orchestras were just beginning to stop playing before the virus, they did a number of concerts around the world where orchestras played in their auditorium with no audiences in there. That was a change. I think the way that we approach music, the way that we can connect with music will evolve as a result of this. And I say evolve, change, sometimes change can be seen as a negative. I see change as a positive. I see change as an evolution. And even the way that we present music, we can live stream concerts. We can have different types of media happening around the orchestra during the course of the concert. We can, in the pops world, one of my great experiences was traveling with Sting back in 2011, one summer. And we had all these orchestras, and I would prepare the orchestras for the concerts. But he was bringing together the pop world, is the rock world, and the classical world. And it was wonderful because he brought such a great attention, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 people that would see this orchestra play and hear this orchestra play along with his band. So in the arts world, we have to be open to evolution. We have to be open to change. And I think this will deeply change us for the better. I know for me, I miss my colleagues. I miss my colleagues here in Beaumont, Texas. I miss my colleagues in New Haven. And I know when we get together, it's going to be just like we haven't been able to see each other for a long time. And we're going to, I think, really thirst to make music again. We're going to thirst to see each other and connect with each other. Will we shake hands? I don't know. Will we bump elbows? I don't know. That's to be determined. That's to be determined in the future. But I can guarantee you, all the musicians around the globe will be excited to make music again. I know when I was with the Toledo Symphony, that's where I came from to come to Beaumont, Texas. I was with Toledo for 7 years as their associate conductor. And we did about 300 concerts in that time. It was just an outrageous amount of concerts, but it was wonderful. It was a wonderful part of my development. But it's easy to get into that, okay, another concert, another concert, another concert, and so on and so on and so on. And lose the taste of how each one is special. And I do believe when we come back from this shutdown of our country, a shutdown of our world, that people will have a greater appreciation of what we provide and how we serve our communities. And my colleagues, my friends in the orchestra, we will have a greater appreciation for making music together. It should never be taken for granted. It can be taken from us, and I've certainly experienced that. It can be taken from us quickly. And so every time I'm on the podium, I'm grateful. I am absolutely grateful. Let me see, Ellen had some more, and I think I believe another question. Are there similar times in history where major world events shaped and changed the next season of music and the arts? I'm sure, yeah. The reason the arts are such a powerful medium is because the arts, and I'm not just talking about music, literature, dance, photography, visual arts, why that has been such a powerful part of history, and it's remained an incredible part of history, is because the arts are adaptable. And if we can't play in our normal hall, we can go into a church, we could play outside, we could play over here. The arts are an adaptable, and their power and their connection to people, their connection to society is what makes it always come back. Maybe, so we're experiencing a pause right now. The arts organizations around the world, we're experiencing a pause. Okay, but we will return, and we'll be even better and stronger for this event than ever before. Okay, let's see what we have here. All right, let's see. So Marjorie Shensky, who is one of our flutists in the orchestra and a good friend. She says, hey, Chelsea, how's social distancing working out for your personable self? Okay, what sustains you? Okay, social distancing is really kind of the new norm that we're having to deal with. And it's for me and for everyone is hard. And I think the hardest part is not only just being by yourself so much, but motivation, trying to stay motivated and using this time wisely, using it efficiently, but it's hard. This is really hard, because in times of need, in times of crisis in our country, what do? We hug each other, we touch each other, and we can't do that. We're told to do the exact opposite right now. And in the music world, look at how close we sit to one another when we're playing when I'm playing clarinet in an orchestra or a band, or you're playing flute or viola, how close we are. And we do that so we can have some type of connection with the music and with one another. Yeah, so this has been a challenge. It's been a challenge for me, and it's been a challenge for everyone. This new norm that we're having to contend with in our society and around the globe. Let's see. And she also asks, what sustains you? Well, certainly music sustains me. And we don't have that right now. We don't have that for probably 6 to 8 weeks for most organizations and most people around the country. So the other thing that's been very difficult here during this time is that the activities that we do outside of our music making have also shut down. My favorite coffee shop down here in Beaumont, Texas, Rayo's, where I go every week, several times a week to study or to work on my computer, and everything is closed. The gym is closed. I have a passion for martial arts, which is grappling. You're on top, person's on top of you, they're trying to choke you, and you're trying to keep them from choking, and that's definitely not social distancing. Can't do that. And those activities are what kind of brings us, those types of activities are what brings us back to keeps us level. Now, the thing that is good as a conductor is that a majority of our time that we spend is by ourselves. We're studying, we're preparing, we're just getting ready for the next rehearsal or the next concert, rehearsal, concert. But a majority of our time is spent by ourselves. So in that regard, it's not as difficult. But the difference is, the big difference is, it's one thing to make the choice of being socially distanced, as opposed to having the choice made for you in the case that we're experiencing right now. We are going to get through this. We are going to get the economy back up and going. We're going to get the art scene back up and going. But just my own 2 cents, my own personal opinion, I think it will be forever changed. And change is not bad. Take a little sip of water here. This is only water. Okay. All right. Caitlin Daly, who is our education director at the New Haven Symphony, asks, where is that music stand from you, behind you? Where is that music stand from that is behind me? So I'll get it. You may not be able to see it, but I went to Eastman School of Music for my undergrad in clarinet back in the glorious 80s. And then I went to Northern Illinois University in DeKalb, Illinois for my master's degree in conducting. That's when I started shifting away from clarinet, really not much, but started shifting towards conducting a little bit, but clarinet was still my life. And so the music stand, I don't know if you can see this, but I'm gonna try. It says, the property of NIU, Northern Illinois Music Department. Yeah, I kind of confiscated it from Northern Illinois University some, I guess, 30 years ago. And it's always traveled with me. You always have a, thank you for asking that. I hope they don't come after me, but it's traveled with me throughout my entire career as a clarinetist and as a conductor, and I still use it every week. I wouldn't say every day, but every week, numerous times a week, throughout the week, and it's just been a good friend. And we all have kind of little mementos that have traveled with us throughout our career. So my education, undergrad was clarinet performance, and then towards the middle part of my undergrad years, like my junior, my senior year in college, I started working towards the conducting. And then once I graduated from my graduate school, master's degree, is when I started pursuing conducting more, but clarinet kind of stayed up there for a couple of years until the conducting really took over. But people often ask me, how does one become a conductor? Which is a very different path for everyone, and depends on what part of the world you're from. In Europe, they like to go through the opera house, and then that leads into symphonic conducting. Here, like my friend and wonderful colleague, Alistair Neal, we had a similar path in that we both came up through as assistant conductors of orchestras here in the United States. He was with the San Francisco Symphony for many years, and then he started moving into music director positions. And that was really the path that I took with the Savannah Symphony in Georgia. That was my first job as an associate conductor. And then the Toledo Symphony. I was there for 7 years in Toledo as the resident conductor. And then I got the job here in Beaumont, Texas. And then a couple of years after that, New Haven. So it's always a different type of path. Some conductors come up through the piano world. Some come up through the opera house, which I think is probably one of the best ways to learn about music and learn about conducting, learn about voice, choir, singing, and so on. But we often have a different way in this country here. But I always say it's never a linear path. And when young people talk to me about what that they would like to become a musician, that's what I tell them. It's not a linear path. Because when I went into undergrad, when I went to Eastman, I thought my plan was to be the first chair clarinetist in the New York Philharmonic. That was my goal. That was my dream. And I was a good clarinetist. Good clarinetist. I wouldn't say great. I wasn't great, but I was very, very good. I was good. Was I that good? Probably not. But at first, conducting was something that I could do along with clarinet. Be more marketable. I could play clarinet and I could conduct. And then as life takes us, the conducting has taken over. But you need to have an instrument that you have quote unquote mastered or spent that you really have an understanding of. The thing I appreciate about the journey that I've come through is I came through the orchestra. I played in orchestras, I played in bands. And so I had an understanding of the culture of an orchestra. And there's certain unwritten rules that you don't want to break in that type of thing. And I know those rules because I played in the orchestra. And then there's a path of being a pianist, such as like with Leonard Bernstein. And you're a great pianist and a great musician. He was a great musician, but that also offers a different type of approach, Leonard Bernstein or James Levine, for example. But everyone has their own way and their own pathway to make the music happen. And it's an incredible career, and it's an incredible opportunity to try to connect with people. I love the music. I also love talking to people. I love talking and connecting with people. And that's what I love about the Pops. And that's what I've loved about working in New Haven, not only with the audiences, but it's just a fabulous group of people in the orchestra and the administration. The question, let's see what we got here. Okay. Let's see here. So Caitlin, no, I'm sorry, I already got to that question. Okay. Christopher Clark asks me, what is your favorite thing about conducting? And what is your favorite John Williams score? Okay, very good. Favorite thing about conducting is connection. Is when the audience gets it. When the audience, boy, when they either get moved or they get offended, but they feel something. That's the ultimate. That's like trying to catch a snake. Wynton Marsalis, I got that phrase from Wynton Marsalis. Trying to catch jazz is like trying to catch a snake. But trying to get that moment where you connect with the orchestra, when everything is aligned, connect with the orchestra, connect with the audience, it's the right length piece, it's the right piece that I like, that I can understand. When that magic happens, and it doesn't, for me, doesn't happen a lot. We do good, we do good concerts, we do good performances, but every once in a while, something really clicks. We did a piece, what was it called? Minor Alterations this past Christmas. I did this everywhere. Did it here in Beaumont, New Haven, Vermont. And it was a piece where I thought, where they take the Christmas tunes and they move them from major key to minor key. Really clever. And it kind of gives a darker hue to the music. And when I was programming it, I thought, I'm not sure this is going to go over very well. And so I would do this little talk about it. And in some places I'd have the harp player to play like a major chord and then a minor chord. So the audience can understand the difference when you hear something in major versus minor. And then we'd play it. That was the hit of the season. Everywhere I went, the orchestra liked it, the audience liked it, I liked it, and people would come up to me at the end of the concert, they say, my favorite piece was minor alterations. When people make that type of connection, that is what I love about conducting. That is what I love about conducting. And it's hard. It's really, really hard to do that. It's hard to get everything aligned. I remember one time I was just about to start Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, and it starts with ba 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 ba, ba 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 ba. You know, very tough start. It's tough. You can easily, the conductor can throw off the orchestra easily. We were about to start, and I heard someone's watch go dee dee. Just that. It just took my mind off the music for just dee dee. And I should have put my hands back down and then restart. But instead I was like, oh, we can do this. And we started and it wasn't clear and it wasn't quite together, you know? And that's on me. That's on me. But my mind was just taken away for just a split. So that moment wasn't there for that moment at least. So connection, communication. And the conductor's there to serve the music. Okay, there was something else you asked me. What is your favorite John Williams score? Favorite John Williams score? Boy, I love his ceremonial music. You know, he writes music for the Olympics. You hear it. Love that stuff. Oh man. Liberty Fanfare is so celebratory. And he just has such a great way. Movie music, the Harry Potter material, just love that type of thing. And you know, a big movement in Pop's orchestras, and we just did this here in Beaumont, is to have the music shown above the orchestra while the orchestra plays the music to the movie. So you got the movie over the orchestra and then the orchestra's playing the music. And the conductor's on the click track or the orchestra's on the click track to make everything line up. I would love to do Jurassic Park, the movie Jurassic Park, or Raiders of the Lost Ark. You know, I just love his music, just really speaks to me. Another composer is George Gershwin. I love Gershwin's music as well. But his movie things. And I've done May the Fourth Be With You. You know, I've done a lot of Star Wars. I like the Star Wars material as well. But there's something about the Harry Potter music that really speaks to me. Okay, let's see here. Gail Kimball, hey Gail, asks, you've recently produced and worked with other musicians to produce educational videos for youth. I've viewed a couple of, and they are awesome. How has the response been? So the question we had a little bit earlier in the evening was, has this event changed us? How has it changed us? How is this event, sorry, looking at some different things. What we're doing here in Beaumont is each of our principal string players and wind players and brass players, they made a video about their instrument. And I've done a couple of videos about improvisation, about conducting, and we're uploading those to our local school system so that parents can go to a portal and to view those. As a means of education. We're scheduled to have our education concerts next week. But that's part of the change, and those won't be uploaded until next week, so we'll have a better sense of how they're being received. And I know in New Haven, we're trying different approaches to this tonight, which New Haven, thank you so much for setting this up, for you all to have a different way of communicating and connecting with the community and around the country. I mean, this is being broadcast around the country. So those modules, those education modules, are just another tool. And not only now, and I'm not looking at it as these things that we're doing, it's just now. I hope that we can do more things like this virtually, even once we get back up and going. As we do it more, we'll get better at it. And this is my first time doing this. I'll get better at it the second time and the third time. But there are different ways that we have that we can go and reach, for finding different ways we can go out and reach out to the community. So we're all of us, the New Haven Symphony Orchestra, the Symphony of Southeast Texas, we're looking for ways that to help the parents during this time with their kids to keep the music alive. We would love to do it live with our instruments. But the thing I love, I'm looking at Facebook, and now my news feed is just filled with musicians from the Pittsburgh Symphony, from the Boston Symphony, from the Philadelphia Orchestra, from the Greensboro Symphony, from the New Haven Symphony, from the Symphony of Southeast Texas, of our friends here and around the world playing their instruments on Facebook, because we're trying to keep the music alive. And the music will remain alive. You know, a question I often get is, will live concerts ever be out of style? And no way, absolutely no way that would ever happen. Because there's something about being in a room filled with like-minded people, filled with people that are excited about what's going on, that is like no other experience. This experience that we're having tonight, this virtual experience we're having tonight, it would be different if all of you were sitting in my house in front of me right now and talking. There'd be a different energy going on. This is good, what we're doing right now, but it'd be a different type of energy if you're in the room with the people. So live performances, and I often ask young people, I say, what's the difference between listening to a recording versus listening to a live concert? And we can listen to everything with recordings, but there's something about being at a live concert. And my question is, can this group sound as good live as your recordings that you've heard of this piece? Or even better? And there's that spontaneity, like with the Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. You never know what's going to happen. So we are going to be fine as far as live concerts go in the future. Okay, let's go back to the questions here. Let's see here. All right. Okay, sorry for the delay. Gail Kimball also says, your jokes are killer, maestro. They do okay. They do okay. All right, let's see. All right. So Dolores Black, hello Dolores, a local singer here and legend here in the 409. Says, Maestro, how are you keeping your musical talents going? Practicing your instrument, conducting to recordings? That's a good question. Okay, that's a very good question. So right now, we have our routines. The person who is running this is John Leibensberger, who's a very good friend and the orchestra production manager of the New Haven Symphony Orchestra. And we were talking before we went on air about motivation and just trying to stay motivated, to keep practicing and to keep your routines going. So I still study. I still do my ear training every day. I'm playing my clarinet, not quite every day, but I'm trying to get that going and trying to find new projects. It's rare that I've had such an extended time off. And so this is the adjustment. The first week was really tough. Second week was a little less tough. This week is better. I'm getting better to this new reality we're having. But to try to keep your saw sharpened during this time. Studying for, I'm not very good at just studying for studying's sake. Some people will take the Brahms symphonies, all 4 Brahms symphonies, and just work with them and study them, even though they don't have a concert coming up. I don't quite operate that way. My next concert will be the Judy Garland concert in New Haven, but we will see. And we postponed a concert here until June 27th here in Beaumont. So I've started studying for that one now, because it's a pretty big program. So it's hard, and trying to keep motivated and keep focused is very important. Conducting to recordings, don't really do that. I listen to recordings. I watch YouTube. I love YouTube, because for so many years we couldn't see how these great conductors and these great orchestras, what they looked like when they played. And now we can see these great conductors and see them working and see how they make music happen. And so that's another type of studying for me, to see what works. Also, I love to go on YouTube and look at rehearsals. You learn a lot about what works with different orchestras, or what approaches maybe a conductor might take. I love going to rehearsals and watching the process. Concerts are great, they're good, but I really prefer going to rehearsals. Let's see here. And I just want to encourage people. I just want to encourage the viewers here to donate to the New Haven Symphony Orchestra Musicians Relief Fund. The gig workers, people who'd have gigs, musicians, people, dancers, the gig, people that do the gig life. This is a really tough time. And the New Haven Symphony Orchestra administration is really working to try to help to supplement the musicians of the orchestra. So I encourage you to go to their website, the New Haven Symphony Orchestra website, and check it out. And if you can make a donation, we would certainly appreciate that. Okay. All right. Elaine Carroll, who is the president of the New Haven Symphony Orchestra and friend of mine. And she has been a great supporter of me and my career. And I really appreciate all that she does for me and the people of New Haven and the orchestra and the arts. She's asking me, when do you begin mentoring with the new conducting fellow? So we're starting a conducting fellowship program with the New Haven Symphony Orchestra. And we're hoping that we can get that off the ground next season. One of the hard things about learning how to conduct, the thing that's so difficult, is when I was a clarinetist, I would take my instrument out and I'd practice and then put my instrument away and go eat ice cream. Our instrument as a conductor is the orchestra. So we need a group of people to work with in order to practice our instrument. So getting that time in front of an orchestra of wonderful musicians is very valuable. So we're looking at starting a conducting fellow program where that person would observe orchestra rehearsals, my rehearsals, the pops, the classical rehearsals, They'll be mentored by myself, by Alistair Neal, our music director, and they may have some opportunities to conduct as well. That's an important component of it. This program is designed for underrepresented musicians, and we've encouraged people to apply for it. And I think it's going to be a very important mission. I know for myself, I've gotten breaks. People have helped me. People have given me a chance to, and maybe I wasn't even ready at the time, but they saw something and they gave me a chance. And I'm greatly appreciative of those opportunities. And we want to give back. Alistair feels the same way. So we're excited about that program starting up in the fall with the New Haven Symphony, if we can get everything worked out. Shire Feingold would love to know my favorite score that I played as a clarinetist. Clarinet, that's going back. I miss the clarinet. I really miss the clarinet. We did the Artie Shaw Concerto with in New Haven. I'm sorry, I just went blank on his name. He was phenomenal, and it's a great piece. He's one of the associate principal clarinetists of the orchestra. Just fantastic. But for me, one of my favorite pieces, the Mozart Clarinet Quintet. Love the Mozart Clarinet, and also the Brahms Clarinet Quintet. Love chamber music. I would love to play it again someday. It probably won't happen, but those are my two favorite pieces that when I was growing up listening to. I also loved, as far as concertos go, the Weber Concerti. Weber Clarinet Concerto #1, and even more, I love #2. So those are a couple of pieces. Okay. Caitlin Daly, our education guru. Oh, it was Bixby Kennedy, thank you. It was Bixby Kennedy who played the clarinet on the Artie Shaw Clarinet Concerto with us, and he was out of this world. Yale graduate, has been with the orchestra a number of years, just stole the show, absolutely stole the show. Okay, Caitlin asks me, what composer do you think you could beat in martial arts? I would hope that I could take out most composers in a grappling match. And I'll just be honest with you, I love martial arts. I've been doing it for, I think this is my 15th year. I started with Aikido for 6 years. Then I moved to Beaumont, Texas, and I started jujitsu. I'm a terrible martial artist. I just be honest with you. I show up every week, twice a week. I have a good attitude. I work hard and have fun with the guys and gals doing it. But I just love the principles, and I think it's made me a better conductor. And what certainly jujitsu's done, humility. It will humble you. And that's what you want you want to be humble as a conductor. People say egoless. They often say, leave your ego, check your ego at the door. Can't do that. We all have an ego. But you want to be open, and to try to be as open to learning, open to what you're receiving. Oftentimes people think that the conductor, they just follow the stick. Yeah, they do that somewhat, but they're watching me, I'm listening to them, and we have a conversation. That's the ideal. And I just love the principles of the martial arts, and it's something that I hope that I can always train safely in. Let's see. Antoinette Kelly asks, do you ever have the opportunity to play the clarinet publicly, or do you conduct 100% of the time? I conduct 99% of the time. But I do play, I've played on holiday concerts, White Christmas. I've done a couple of times. I've done in Beaumont as well as New Haven, Clarinet Candy by by, who's that, the composer who, Leroy Anderson, sorry. Clarinet Candy by Leroy Anderson, and it's calls for 4 clarinets. So I usually play like the 4th clarinet part, and it's fun. I kind of hang out in the draft of the other clarinetists, but you know, we're grooving, and it's always fun. My joke that I often say at Pop's concerts, I'm sure all of you all have heard me say this, that people ask when I'm a conductor, they say, if I'm a conductor, they say, do you read music? And yes, I read music. And the thing I love about the clarinet is being able to connect with music and make sound. Conducting is just kind of gestures, and it's a different type of connection, but there's something about making the sound. So, do this here. I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping this up. Let's see. This is one last question here. This is a tough one. If Texas and Connecticut were composers, who would they be and why? I don't even know if I can answer that. Okay, Texas. Texas, yes. If Texas were, I think of Texas, when I hear music of Aaron Copland, I think of Texas. I think of the West, the Americana, this open spaciousness of his orchestration, his instrumentation, really wide gaps between the instruments in his orchestration style. And Connecticut, I had one just a minute ago. Connecticut, I would say Leonard Bernstein, composer and conductor. But as a composer, he really blended the pop and the serious, his serious classical composition. Very, and I think of when I come up to Connecticut, I just feel like it's a very eclectic. You have all these great cities around you. It's a very eclectic area of the country, a very dense area of the country. Whereas Texas, I find to be it's very open, just geographically, just open part of the country. So I would say, yeah, Copland and Leonard Bernstein. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. This is the first time I've done this, and it's been a real treat. It's been a real eye-opening experience for me as we've sort of moved through the hour. I just want to invite you April 17th at 7:30 on this YouTube channel. We'll have our music director of the New Haven Symphony, Alistair Neal, will be interviewing Alexei Kinney, who was the violinist who was supposed to be performing on our concert in New Haven that got canceled because of the virus experience here that's going on. But they're going to be having a chat at 7:30 EST, Eastern Standard Time, at 7:30, April 17th. So we invite you to join them. They'll have a conversation. I believe Mr. Kinney is going to be also playing his violin, perhaps during the course of the time. But you don't want to miss that. They're two just wonderful musicians, wonderful people. And so please come and join us. Again, that's April 17th at 7:30, and we will see you then. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for listening to my ramblings. And I look forward to seeing you all from the stage. Take care. God bless.